Good morning and welcome back to the Now Morning Show, where, as promised, we're diving into the conversation of 16 days of activism ending violence against women and girls. Joining us to have that conversation is Inspector Michelle Lewis, no stranger to the Now Morning Show, so welcome back. And tell us immediately how we're going to use the hashtag #NoExcuse.
Yes, so good morning to both of you and of course your listening and viewing audience. Yes, so it is no excuse, and when you hear the hashtag no excuse, it means that there's no excuse for any man to abuse a woman, either verbal, physical, sexual, or otherwise. So violence against women and girls is the campaign for 16 days, which commenced on the 25th, which was on Saturday.
Right.
And running straight to the 16th.
Right. I'm glad that you mentioned the different types of abuse, because often I think a lot of people aren't aware that beyond physical, verbal is very valid, financial is even at points of discussion.
Yes, it is.
And so is it that we do have activities geared towards these different types of violence over the 16 days?
Yes, so you will see the Trinidad and Tobago Police Service has partnered with both local and international organizations to make awareness in relation to violence against women. And a lot of times the perpetrators are men.
Yeah.
And so the discussion will be to engage men as well, to give them, tips, suggestions, recommendations as we come off of the topic, which was last week as we celebrated International Men's Day. So within the organization, every day you're going to see something from the Trinidad and Tobago Police Service being published in relation to violence against women and girls. So we do have the Sexual Offences Act in relation to sexual offences, but it covers, you have the Sexual Offences Act, and then you also have the Children's Act. So both pieces of legislation covers sexual offences for both women and girls, and then you have the offences against the person, so where you will have like threat and abuse and that kind of thing. So there are several pieces of legislation that governs or directs the police in relation to criminal offences against women and girls. And when we look at the data for violence against women in particular, we see that the three highest are threats against women, physical abuse, and sexual abuse. We have seen a decrease from 2022 to 2023. So the figures in 2022 were higher, and in 2023 it's lower, but it's still relatively high in relation to threats against women and physical abuse against women in particular, looking at domestic violence.
Wow, incredible. Now, one of the things that Inspector would just have mentioned is something you can take into consideration as well, is that you can actually access these different acts. The Sexual Offences Act, the Children's Act, the Offences Against the Persons Act are available online. So you can go and, I would say, skim through them and see exactly what applies to who. Now, something that you just mentioned, Inspector, is that you've seen a decrease in physical and sexual abuse, which, of course, we definitely are thankful for, because we live in a society where every other day you do see something happening, and it is a concern whether or not it's reported. And that leads me to my question of the level of reporting, because we do know many times that there's fear that sits within women's hearts. Have you seen an increase in reporting, particularly when it comes to this over the past few years?
Well, there's a decrease, which shows that there is less. So, for example, in 2002, we had 4,207 reports, and in 2003, so far, we had 3,108 reports. So that's almost 1,000 reported.
Fewer reported
domestic against violence against women.
Wonderful. So it's fair to assume that you've seen a decrease in the violence.
We have seen a decrease.
And have there been campaigns out there to share with women to say, listen, come and report it? Because we mentioned, of course, educating men, which is a campaign that is so necessary. But what about campaigns aimed at women as well?
Yeah, so we do have that. We have the Special Victims Department of the organization, which treats with all sexual offenses, women, children. And then you also have the Victim and Witness Support Unit within the organization that also does the counseling and going out there and doing matters in relation to women and children, where they can give advice and counsel and that kind of thing. Now, we still do have persons who do not report it for various reasons, right? And these are the persons that we really want to reach out to let you know that help is available. And sometimes persons do not come to the front and make a report because of embarrassment, because of shame. Sometimes they're in positions where they feel that they cannot help themselves anymore. And so they are, confused as to, if I come forward, what will happen to me?
Yeah.
what will happen to my children? Where will I live? Because in a domestic matter, one or the other has to move out of the space in order to maintain that level of non-abuse situation. So we have that happening. We do see that where persons still are not making reports and are ashamed.
Yeah, understood. And then also, from when we sit down in conversation, one of the things you hear is that some will actually go and lay charges, and then we'll go back and say, well, I don't want to lay charges anymore.
Yes, so we do see that happening, but we encourage persons as far as possible to follow through with the process. Sometimes when they do not follow through with the process, oftentimes something else happens that causes the situation to be worse. And so when persons make the report, and even if the police doing their investigation, there is an interim protection order where persons can obtain through the court for a period of 1 year to 3 years, which you can go before the magistrate court and receive within a 7-day period. You can get a date of hearing. So where the court is concerned, the judicial system is concerned, and the police service, we move very swiftly when it comes to domestic violence against women and gender-based violence in particular, generally speaking. So that I've been in some conversations recently with a team of women, international women, and one of the discussions that has come forward is that they are seeing more women police making reports where they have been victims of domestic violence internationally. So there's something that has also come to the fore that we really have to start to pay attention to as a law enforcement organization, that you also have women police who are victims of domestic violence. And we are seeing that trend rising in the international arena, and I'm certain that we have it in Trinidad and Tobago.
I would agree with you. Dare I say that the trends or the increase in reports, the increase of these incidents, mightn't actually be an indicator of it happening more often, but people becoming more aware of what is and isn't abuse. And I know that means that we should have you back for all 16 of the days of this campaign, because we can probably explore that in greater detail. But it's very imperative that persons have a clear understanding of what is abuse, what types of abuse exist, and what type of support mechanisms exist there.
Yes.
Now, as much as that is a process and can be done by heading over to many of your platforms, I know that we have 16 full days, and as you rightfully said, we have activities planned for all of them. So what's the best way that somebody can get in touch or figure out what types of violence they may be subjected to, or someone they know may be subjected to, and more importantly, how to make those reports?
All right, so the police, our portal, on the drop-down cursors, you would see the Victim and Witness Support Unit, and you see the different departments. But of course, outside of that, you have the Special Victims Department within the organization, and their contact number is 612-2470, 612-2470, extension 16073 or 16070, and that will give you the number for the superintendent in charge there, which is Ma'am Guy Allen, Superintendent Guy Allen. So that you have direct contact with the unit that treats with and investigate matters in relation to gender-based violence. Of course, any police station, we also have a lot of literature on it that you can share. You can contact community police, you can get information there. If you are a victim of domestic violence and you are currently in this situation and you need help, call 999.
Yeah.
Dial 999 for immediate response. We have had persons who have communicated with the TTPS via email, Corporate Communications Unit, and we have sent that information through, and we have gotten feedback within a few hours that, you know, the situation has been resolved, where the person has been extracted from that situation and an investigation is taking place.
It's discreet enough.
So you can communicate with the police service via email, you can send us an email, you can call the station, you can call 999, which is a free call, to get the help that is necessary. Abuse is nothing that anyone's supposed to accept as a part of your life. It is wrong, and we want members of the public to know that still, if you see something, you can say something. It may not be you, but you can help someone to come out of abuse.
Thank you so much, Inspector Michelle Lewis. That campaign, if you see something, say something, those watchwords need to continue. Remember that you can, of course, make that report. Something Inspector said is so important. Just call 999 in the case of an emergency. Do not be afraid to go to your police station, because the police are here to keep us safe and keep the nation safe by extension. Thank you so much, Inspector Lewis. Have a wonderful day.
Thank you for having us.
Always a pleasure.
Trinidad and Tobago, stay tuned. Your birthdays are coming up right now. Well, next on Now. We're back in a few.